Carter, Pee Wee, B Miller, Mark Stitt. I can name some more, no cap. That's some real shit. Lil Nick, Bank Street, nigga used to have you sick.
Yo, what up though? This is your boy Chris B. Daniels, and you are now on ShowNTalk. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, aka Turtles in Time. But in most interpretations, it's just TMNT 3. Because of the confusion between that and the video game that came out the previous year in 92, which is the best Turtles game, by the way. I don't know if y'all agree with me, but in my opinion, it is. But anyway, this movie's corny, man. I know it's a children's movie and it's supposed to appeal to children, but if you're an adult, or if you was an adult back in the day, you know what I'm saying, and you took your kids to see this, man, I know you was cringing the whole time in theaters. But this is one of those movies where I seen on TV, you know, because I don't remember seeing this in theaters, so I appreciated it as a kid. But as I gotten older, the cornier it got, you know what I'm saying? I guess, you know, you're looking for more mature jokes as you get older. So I felt like this movie was a waste of time, man. But anyway, the movie pretty much starts off as this guy on a horse, right? He's being chased by these other four horsemen. And they eventually corner him until he is saved by this woman named Mitsu. So when he gets out of that situation, we move over to the future where this time they introduce turtles in a bizarre way. So now, you know, the way they're introduced, they come out dancing to a ZZ Top song. So it's like them dancing and practicing at the same time. But for some reason, Raphael, he gets pissed off and throws a sign to the radio, and they trying to figure out what his problem is this time. So he tells them that, you know, they're down there in the sewer and nobody knows they're alive. So what are they doing that for? And when he disappears, April shows up, and she basically bought them everything based on their personality. So Michelangelo got a lampshade and a lamp, pretty much. You know what I mean? And he used the lampshade as a hat, you know, impersonating Elvis or whatever, which is corny. Donatello, he has this old radio, something for him to work on. Raphael he got this fedora hat, and Leonardo, he has his book of swords. And then she had got Splinter, the scepter. So the scepter is like the MacGuffin of the movie. You know, the scepter is what the movie revolves around. So before April was able to give it to him, like, the scepter had activated itself, and the turtles didn't know what was going on. So it seemed like April got sucked into the scepter, but in her place was the guy that was saved, you know, by Mitsu, which is Kenshin. And we come to find out the Kenshin is the son of, you know, of the Shogun, Lord Norinaga. So Kenshin is trying to figure out, you know, he's just as confused. And he sees the turtles, then he sees Splinter, and he faints. So when April is sucked into the past, which is feudal Japan, you know, she tries to figure out what's going on. So these guards, they come into the room and they see her. And so now they're interrogating her, trying to figure out, you know, what's going on, what happened to Norinaga's son. So this guy named Walker, which is like an English, a Britishman or Englishman or whatever, he wants to question her first before they take her away. So April tries to intimidate everybody in the room, saying that she's a witch and she will, you know, turn him into a pile of puke or whatever, some childish threat. And Walker sees right through her bullshit. So then he tells them to take her away. You know what I'm saying? But Norinaga wants her to, you know, suffer. And I guess his form of suffering is by putting her in a cage. And that's pretty much it. So now the turtles make it their mission to go back in time to rescue April. After Kenshin explains, you know, to them who he is and where he's from. So Splinter basically figures out how, you know, they need to execute that plan. And Donnie, he figures out how much time they have left before the space-time continuum closes up. So now they all are transported to Japan, and in their place are these 4 honor guards who belong to Norinaga. You know what I'm saying? So they come back in time, they go back in time, and they come back. They come to the future, and so at first, Kenshin, he doesn't like them because they're his father's guards. And the turtles, they're in the middle of a war. That's where they was transported to. So now they're all on horseback, and Mikey gets separated from the group, riding backwards on a horse with the scepter. So eventually he's knocked out by Mitsu because Mitsu sees that he's wearing the armor of Norinaga's clan. So somebody grabs the scepter, but you don't know who it is. And so the turtles at first, they're with Norinaga because they're just as confused. They don't know what's going on either. So I'll say this, I'm gonna skip ahead to the part where they eventually meet up with April. They find her in this cage. And so now the guy that's standing there, trying to torture April or whatever, he tries to intimidate the turtles, but the turtles wind up intimidating him. So he takes April out the cage, throws himself in the cage, and pulls himself up with the rope, which is corny too. You know what I'm saying? So now they're off, and they come across his not village, but they come across this open area where Mitsu's soldiers come out, and they start fighting the turtles. Because again, they see that they're wearing the armor of Norinaga. So, Mitsu tells everybody to stop. And she sees that, they all look like Michelangelo. So after she mentions that, the turtles, they figure out, okay, she knows where Mikey is. So they follow her back to their village or whatever. And somehow one of the houses are caught on fire. And so Mikey runs in and grabs who we now know is Yoshi, the little boy, out of the house. And Leo performs CPR on him, saving his life. So after, all of that, some time passes and everybody is starting to bond with each other. Mikey tries to make a pizza for whatever reason. I don't even know how he got the dough and shit, but he's making pizza and winds up burning the shit into oblivion. And I don't know, man. This movie was just so bad, man. So not a war, but Mitsu discovers that her village is on fire, or it's a war. It's a bunch of smoke. So they come to the village later on, right? And it's a fight that breaks out because Walker, the British guy, he winds up invading the village. So he was about to kill Michelangelo until the turtles, intervene. But that's before they met back up with Michelangelo. You know what I'm saying? This movie was just so bad, I don't even care what scene I talk about in what order. You know what I mean? But anyways, after everybody is truly, reunited or whatever, the turtles, they particularly Raphael, he becomes buddy with Yoshi. He's basically telling Yoshi to control his temper and don't think about fighting. Just have fun. You're a kid. And so later on that night, Yoshi brings Michelangelo to his house. And they had like this little mechanism under the floorboard. And so this is where we come to find out that Yoshi was the one that took the scepter. So at this point, Raphael's surprised. And he's shocked that Yoshi had the scepter the whole time and didn't say nothing. So the turtles then they confront Mitsu about the fact that they was hiding the scepter from him. But Mitsu says nothing and walks out. And we come to find out that it was the older villager, the old man, I guess that's her grandfather, that took the scepter and hid it from them so they could help them fight against Norinaga's soldiers. So they was feeling some type of way about that until we see that, Mitsu got kidnapped. So now they're involved. So now they want to fight. So the whole plan was that it was this Casey Jones looking dude, right? In the past, but he's played by the same actor, Elias Koteas. But April, she had recognized him because he looked just like Casey Jones, except he had short hair and a beard. But his plan the whole time was to get the scepter and take it back to Walker. I guess it was for some prize money or whatever. But he's successful in getting the scepter from the Turtles. So he winds up taking it back to Walker because Walker was telling the truth to Norinaga that he didn't have the scepter. So he brings it back to Walker, and Walker now is successful in not only getting the scepter, but they kidnap April again somehow. So this time it's a war that breaks out, and this is like the final battle. So the Turtles, they're fighting Norinaga soldiers, they're fighting the Walker's men, and Walker, he has his men surrounding the Turtles, and he tells them to go ahead and kill them all. But Leo starts to bluff and says, "Why won't you shoot us yourself? Are you afraid that if you shoot us, the bullets are going to bounce off of us and hit all of you because we're demons?" So the men hesitate, and once again, Walker sees right through his bullshit, and so he takes his gun and he's like, "Okay, if it makes you feel better." But he changes his mind and winds up shooting at him with a cannon, but misses and hit this bell that was sitting on top of Norinaga. And that part was corny, man. So when he sees that he missed, he runs away and he tries to get the scepter. And he runs to like the top of this cliff and he looks over and he sees the water, down below. So the turtles are in front of him. The water's behind him. So what he does is tosses the scepter. Instead of tossing it into the water, which he could have done, that was several feet below, he winds up tossing it, their way. And they wind up catching it. Mikey winds up catching it. You know what I'm saying? And so the Casey Jones looking character from the past cuts this rope, which releases this rock that was on fire or whatever, and it hits Walker into the water. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I did not notice this scene until I watched the AVGN episode where it shows Walker hitting the water, but he didn't really hit the water. Like he disappeared right there at the bottom. Like he dematerialized or whatever. It's like you can hear the splashing, but he never touched the water. There's no splashing effects or nothing. So I thought that shit was pretty funny. So they wind up getting the scepter. But we come to find out that Mikey and Ralph wanted to stay because they felt more appreciated in the past in feudal Japan than they did in their own time. But Donnie and Leo said, no, we got to go. It wouldn't make sense to stay there. You know what I'm saying? So April, of course she wasn't about to stay there. So she was telling them, she wound up convincing Ralph that they got to go back to the future. You know what I'm saying? They're brothers. They cannot split up. But Mikey is still on the opposite end where, I guess he felt better there or something. But eventually the scepter, it activates. We come to find out that Kenshin had activated it, you know what I'm saying, because he couldn't wait anymore because he knew time was running out. But Splinter, he was still betting on the Turtles to come back in time. He just wanted to wait a little longer. So Casey Jones, he knew what time it was. He got the guys because it was in like this bar / restaurant or whatever. So he took them back to the Turtles' lair because the scepter was going off. And so he had to bring everybody together so everybody can make it back so the Turtles can come back along with April. So when the scepter finally transported everybody back to their respective times, it looked like Mikey didn't make it because he ran over to April and tried to grab her hand, which he didn't, because when they made it back to their lair, everybody except for Mikey was there. The guy that took Mikey's place was still there, so he had the scepter and tried to run up the ladder away from the Turtles. But apparently he was transported back to his time as well, because you saw like this beam of light that came through the sewer. And so then you saw Michelangelo coming down the ladder, and he was all sad and depressed. I guess because he really wanted to stay in the past, but everybody had to come back. So Splinter made some kind of corny ass joke. Michelangelo laughed, and that was the end of the movie. Yo, this movie was bad. Like, this movie was really bad. Like, I swear to God, if I got to give this movie a score, it's going to get a -0 out of 10. Hell, it gets a Suspiria out of 10. This movie is fucking horrible. Like, it's so bad. If I was a Mortal Kombat character, my fatality would be to tie you up and make you watch this movie. I would rather watch myself being tortured in a snuff film. Like, I would not even recommend this movie to a vegetable, let alone a perfectly functioning human being. That's how bad this movie was. And that's no offense to anybody. That's just my opinion. This movie was terrible. Like, terrible. You know what I'm saying? Yo, if you decide you wanted to watch this movie because you haven't seen it after this review and you're curious, go ahead. You might be traumatized afterwards, though. You might need help. You know what I mean? This movie was just fucking bad, corny. The acting was trash. The story was boring. You know what I'm saying? The Turtles costumes in this movie were just wretched. You know what I mean? Like, in the first two movies, they was created by Jim Henson's Creature Shop. You know what I'm saying? They didn't do the costumes for this movie. You can see that. Like, the costumes were fucked. You know what I'm saying? Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, the creators of the Turtles. I don't know how they felt about this film, but I'm pretty sure I knew how everybody else felt. This movie was just bad. Like, they was going to do a fourth movie, but this movie flopped so bad they decided not to. So they did a TV show 4 years later, 97, called The Next Mutation. You know what I'm saying? That show was equally bad. Like, I just don't know, yo. Like, the Turtles didn't really get good again until TMNT in 2007, but the only reason why I still have this movie on DVD is because it came in a set with the first, second, this movie, TMNT, and Turtles versus Batman. You know what I'm saying? But I will never watch this movie again. Ever. This is my last time. I swear to God. I will die before I watch this shit again. You know what I mean? And I'm sure if I'm reborn, I can go through that lifetime too without watching that movie. You know what I'm saying? This movie is just, yo, you just want to yank your eyeballs out. Like, this movie was just bad, man. But I'm glad y'all got to hear me babble. But yeah, I wanted to give a shout out, to Saute J. Wanted to give a shout out to Rico Covington. And if you haven't checked their content, Saute South Podcast, anywhere you can watch podcasts, check them out. And you got Alien Nation, Rico Covington, check them out. You won't be disappointed, all right? I'm about to jump off of here, y'all. I'm glad y'all got to hear me babble again. But like I said, man, if you want to watch this movie, watch it at your own risk. I'm telling you, all right? I'm gone. Peace.